So today we're talking about lag, and we're going to ask the questions of how do you hold lag, and possibly more importantly, should you hold lag? So welcome back to the Forest of Arden, where the topic of today's video is lag, and we're going to get you to possibly think about this in a way that you've not really done before, and it might help you open your eyes to what you should be doing in your practice if this is something you think you should be working on. Just before we get into that content, if you're new to my channel, I would love you to be part of the community. Clickable link in the description box down below, and whilst you're down there, just give that little bell icon a click as well. That just means you'll be notified every time I do upload a new video. So the lesson plan today is we're going to focus very much on that lead arm. We're going to discuss exactly what the two movements are present in the backswing, and then we're going to show you how those two movements relate to the downswing shape, what the golf swing might look like, and then we're going to finish up with a really simple drill that anyone can do to really help you appreciate what might be a better movement for you in your golf swing. So what happens in the backswing with that lead arm? We're going to focus specifically on this lead arm. Well, in the backswing, my wrist will create this movement here, so you might know that as wrist hinge or wrist set or wrist cock. And I will have around about 90 degrees of rotation through my forearm. If I do those two movements and then rotate my body up to the top, we get into something which is a fairly orthodox top of the backswing position there. So in the backswing we have wrist set and we have forearm rotation. Now when golfers often think about holding lag, they're really looking at this angle here, so the angle between the lead forearm and the club shaft. And that angle is because of what the wrists have done, the wrist set. When we look at our forearm rotation, the forearm rotation is what changes the angle of the club shaft. This is my forearm rotation. So we could have a case, and there are cases out there, where the golfer is desperately trying to hold this angle here because they are believing that that's going to help them with strike and power and speed and all those kind of things. So if I made a golf swing or a rehearsal, what about if I was in this position here? I have absolutely held this angle here. I've held that lag. But when we look at the golf club from this position, that's not really a particularly desirable position. That club's too far out in front of me and it's too high. The reason it's there is because I haven't maintained the forearm rotation that I had during my backswing. So what about if I made a downswing like this? Well, I would probably argue that that's a much more desirable delivery position when we look at it from this camera. I'm able to deliver the club more from the inside, I'm able to rotate my body better. On this particular swing, I have maintained my arm rotation, but I certainly haven't really maintained the wrist set. I've certainly lost more of that I had at the top. So I've possibly not held lag on that particular golf swing. So the way I really want you to think about this is in the backswing, we create wrist hinge and we create forearm rotation. For me, it is far more important, and it will do you far more good if you focus on holding the forearm rotation. The forearm rotation is what is going to get the golf club more behind your hands. We would tend to want to see, from the golfers who struggle, we would want to see the club head lower to the ground, which would be uncocking the wrists, and more behind them, which would be keeping the forearm rotation. So uncocking the wrists a little early really isn't the worst thing for you. But if you don't maintain the forearm rotation, you're really going to struggle. So here's a very, very simple little drill that you can do. And this is, we're over exaggerating these movements, but this is a great little drill. Take an address to a golf ball as if you would for a 6-iron. And I've got an alignment stick here. Now this alignment stick is much longer than a 6-iron, so it's not going to be anywhere near the ball. So as I go up to the top, if I maintain the wrist angles, but I don't maintain the forearm rotation, we get this. End of the stick is very high and it's very much out in front of me. If I go to the top and I uncock my wrist but I maintain my forearms, you'll notice that's a very, very different position. The stick is moving more down behind me and closer to the ground. So the little exercise I'd like you to do, and by far this is very, very exaggerated, I want you to go up to the top and I want you to feel like you put the end of the alignment stick on the ground behind your heels. So you can see what I'm doing there. I'm putting the alignment stick on the ground behind my heels. What I'm really doing is I'm maintaining the forearm rotation and I'm uncocking the wrist to get the club down to the ground. It might be a little bit counterintuitive. If you're that golfer who's been desperately trying to hold the wrist angles because you believe that's going to help you with strike and power and distance. This is almost going to feel like the complete opposite movement, because to get the club down to the ground, you're going to uncock your wrists, and to move it behind you, you're going to maintain your forearm rotation. If we do those things, the grip, in this case, the alignment stick is going to move down to the ground and behind my heels. Very, very different feeling. But once we start to be able to do a little bit of that in our golf swing, we start to be able to encourage rotation, pivot. We are able to get the handle more forwards. We're often able to produce lower loft on the golf club. All of those things are going to help you with your game. The worst golfers out there, the golfers who struggle the most, are the golfers who have the club head too high and too far out in front of them. And hopefully in this video we've explained why that will be the case and what you need to do in order to achieve that. So when we're thinking about lag, let's hold the forearm rotation. Let's not be too concerned with holding the wrist angles, because there's not many cases where that really helps the golfer. It will hinder them in more cases. So, like I said at the start, potentially a slightly different way of you thinking about lag and that topic, which is going to be quite highly searched on YouTube. It's certainly something which people are striving to do more of. But I say, hopefully in this video we've given you a slightly different way of looking at it and something you might be able to take to your next practice session. Thanks for watching. Usual stuff is down below, comments box, like button. If you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and please share this video with someone who you think could benefit from the information. I'm sure they will appreciate it, and thank you again for watching. We'll hopefully see you back here again for a future video. Thanks for watching.